Ted Yantis, excuse me, Ted asks, any thought on Simon Sinek's book Leaders Eat Last? No, because I haven't read it, but I did take the question because I think it's interesting. I suspect I know what it's basically about. This is the difference between leadership and dictatorship. And you can take this from nations, or you can take it all the way down to an office, an insurance office. You can force people to do things using your authority. You can coerce them to doing things, or you can make them want to do something. And any idiot with power can use his authority to coerce people to do things, but it takes an actual leader to make somebody want to follow you. And the way you get people to want to follow you, first of all, you have to be competent. Nobody's going to follow somebody who just doesn't know what they're doing. It's combat or business. No one's going to follow somebody who plainly doesn't know what they're doing. But if you know what you're doing, the way you get people to follow you is you lead by example. And one of the ways you lead by example, I'm assuming this is what he's writing about, is that you eat last. You make sure that your people are fed first. If you feed your people first and you eat after them, what does that say? What is it saying to the people who are in fact under you, under your authority? What's it saying to them? Every day it says to them that you value them. It says to them that you're not just an ego. It says to them that you're not using your authority as a bludgeon for your own inadequacies and your own insecurities. It's saying that leadership is a privilege, and it's a privilege that has to be re-earned on a regular basis, and that you have the confidence to eat last. A good leader does something that's very simple to do, really. And just all you need is some fundamental self-assurance, some fundamental self-confidence. A leader always passes the credit down, but always takes the blame on himself. And bad managers do precisely the opposite. Just that simple. Credit goes down, blame stops here. And that is a sign of somebody with great security, and the sign of somebody that people will in fact follow. And the work you will get out of people who willingly follow you compared to the work you get out of people through coercion is just night and day. So it's just night and day. And that's what I assume this book is about. If it's not, then I'll write that book. It's a really fundamental thing to do. And I can't tell you how easy it is. And at the same time, I can't tell you how rare it is. I was working on a movie. I was directing a little crappy little industrial film. It's about 1985, I guess. I was in Fort Lauderdale, and we were doing a little industrial film for an interior designer, and she wanted to show off some houses, some interiors. And rather than just having a slideshow, we sold her on the idea of doing a little movie, a little 6-7 minute movie where there's the home couple, the host couple, and the guest couple, and they walk in and they show them the house and they serve them food, and it's a nice way to do it. It's a little more elegant and cool, so great. So we did this, and we were working on the thing. I was probably, 30, I wasn't even that old. I was 27, 28, somewhere in that ballpark. And I was directing this thing, and we had a dolly track down, and I had these actors that had to make a cross from the living room into the kitchen. And I was trying to figure out how to work this and get the angles right, and I just couldn't do it. I don't know, I just couldn't get it. Usually it's a piece of cake, but there's something about the geometry of the room or something. And in the middle of this thing, after thinking this over for a minute or two, I just said, I don't know how to make this cross work. If anybody has an idea of how to do this, I'd love to hear it, because I got to get them from there to here, and I don't know how to cover this shot. Now, this is an important distinction. If it was clear to the crew that I didn't know how to cover any shot and all I was doing was lost, then I would have had nothing but contempt and deserved nothing but contempt. But I was pretty confident, knew exactly what I was doing all day. Finally, I come to a place where I don't know what I'm doing. I got a problem here. And I didn't think about it. I just asked. Well, after that shoot was over, we were wrapping up, and we paid the actors, and all four of them came up to me and said, "Hey, can we talk to you for a second?" I thought, well, here we go. Turns out that they had all worked on, by coincidence, a major Coca-Cola commercial that had been shot like 3 days ago with the guy who was making $300,000 or $400,000 per commercial. It was like the top commercial director at the time. And apparently this guy was just, how dare you question me, you sons of bitches, just really, just yelling and screaming, I'm the director here, and just raving mad lunatic. And these 4 actors apparently were so impressed by this, they made a point of coming up to me after the shoot and saying, I just want to tell you, we just worked on this big movie with this guy who was a complete jerk, and we've never seen anybody, never worked with a director who was confident enough to say, if anybody has a better idea of how to do this, I'd love to hear it. And that really, 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 really made a huge effect on me. I mean, it was 30 years ago. I talk about it to this day. When you realize that when you do that kind of thing, it's not perceived as a sign of weakness, it's perceived as a sign of strength, then all of a sudden you begin to get to this place where you can actually understand what leadership really is. And that's the fundamental difference. You just have to get to the place where you understand that as long as you are competent and as long as you are capable, and I'm not talking about even an admission of weakness so much as just an admission of your own humanity, your own ability to not be smarter than everybody else combined. That's a powerful thing, and that's kind of what eating last means. I think it's saying, even though I'm in charge here, I'm not God. I don't have all the answers. I'm working with really good people. You're really good people. If you know a better way to do this, let's all do it. There you go. And to put a button on this, there's that old saw about how first-rate minds hire first-rate minds and second-rate minds hire third-rate minds. It's really true. I've been a smart guy for most of my life. I'm not the smartest guy out there. I'm not even close to the smartest guy out there, but I can hold my own when I need to. And so I can say things like Thomas Sowell is 100 times smarter than me. The Rush Limbaugh's 100 times smarter than me. All these guys are brilliant people. They're brilliant, brilliant people. And the reason I can do that is because I don't have any insecurity about how smart I am. I'm smart enough. And so I don't have to worry about it. It's not something I have to prove, which is what the liberals seem to be doing all the time, is constantly proving how smart they are and constantly proving how good they are. And I don't have to prove how smart I am or how good I am because I'm not insecure about being smart or being good. I'm both. So you have to ask yourself, when people start raving about, I'm in charge, or if people start saying, do as I say, I'm the genius, I'm the creative genius, people start using terms like that, you got to start asking yourself, who is it they're really trying to convince? Is it those other people or is it themselves? I think we know the answer to that. So there you go.